Hello everyone and welcome to this video. I'm Simone, Associate Product Manager at OverIT. In this demo, we will explore the new feature of the OverIT Next-Gen FSM Platform 2023 Wave 2 release, Mobile Warehouse Management. As undisputed player offering high-technology features, OverIT now elevates the technician's experience in the field, guaranteeing they have the required materials and quantities at the right place and time inside their van. The Mobile Warehouse Management feature brings tangible benefits to field service organizations, such as ensuring the correct activity execution by rapidly identifying the materials required, reducing costs through a more efficient management of material supply, responding to unexpected support requests which might be made during the technician's working day, providing a greater visibility and control over warehouse operations, enabling the organization to make more informed decisions and prevent storage or material handling problems, managing requests rapidly and tracking the materials to be moved, and a higher satisfaction of the end customer as a direct consequence of the aforementioned benefits. The operation of the Mobile Warehouse Management feature can be represented with this diagram, which encompasses the main capabilities of the feature. The central part, we see the North Miami Operations Center, where the central warehouse storing all materials coming from external sources are located. The central warehouses can receive materials from another central warehouse belonging to a different operation center, or perform bulk loading operation through files. Furthermore, the Next-Gen FSM platform can be integrated with an external system through APIs. The center warehouses, in turn, supply the mobile warehouses, which are the technicians' warehouses, through replenishment operations that are displayed in the upper part of the diagram. The central warehouses can also receive materials retrieved by field technicians after completing an activity. Additionally, the mobile warehouses can exchange material among themselves to meet unexpected and urgent requests which may occur during the workday. Finally, on the right side of the diagram, it can be seen that field technicians visiting a client's home or facility to carry out the work order need to use the material available in their mobile warehouse or retrieve new ones in case of faults or defects. Now, let's delve into the detail of each entity, starting with the definition and configuration of warehouse. The Next-Gen FSM platform allows to manage both central and mobile warehouses. A central warehouse is the entry point for goods. Here, materials provided from external suppliers or transferred from other companies' central warehouses are stored and their inventory and viability managed. A central warehouse is associated with one or more operation center it depends on, and an address to be chosen from the ones defined for the operation center or entered if necessary. Mobile warehouses are managed by individual resources or team leaders for team activities. They represent the vans, toolboxes of the team carrying out the activity and are used to store the goods necessary for the activity execution or collected in the field. Furthermore, a mobile warehouse can be characterized by an address which can be configured in order to always correspond to the resource's location, in accordance with the client privacy management policies. This means that whenever the resource executes a synchronization, the position of the mobile warehouse is also updated to show the current one. Alternatively, it is possible to choose not to acquire the location data to protect the field technician's privacy. Central warehouses are associated with the operation center they refer to according to the client organization methods and the following modalities. A central warehouse can be associated with multiple operation centers belonging to the same area. Multiple central warehouses can be associated with a single operation center, and a single central warehouse can be associated with an operation center belonging to the same area. In particular, this example displays a single operation center within an area which is associated with only one central warehouse. Each mobile warehouse can be supplied in the associated central warehouses only, and in particular if the warehouse set as preferred. Consequently, the association of a mobile warehouse with an operation center depends on the central warehouse associated. A mobile warehouse can be associated with one or more central warehouses, and these latter associated with a single operation center. It is important to know that a single scheduling resource or a team leader is associated with a mobile warehouse. Additionally, one or more preferred warehouses can be associated with a mobile warehouse, but at least one is required, respecting the visibility cone of the resource. Let's now explore the concept of the visibility cone of a scheduling resource associated with a mobile warehouse. A user logged in can only display and operate on warehouses within the visibility cone. The visibility cone is determined for warehouses according to the usual rules of associating the user with a structure, area, or operation center by relying on the association of central warehouse with operation centers and the association of mobile warehouse with central warehouses. Now let's illustrate what the visibility cone of the scheduling resource associated with a mobile warehouse means. To do this, let's consider this example. On the right, we see the users Max and Brandon, while on the left the team leader Richard, who was assigned to the mobile warehouse B. When Richard wants to request or return goods to the warehouse, he will only display the central warehouses 1 and 2, these being in the same operation center. Additionally, he can source goods from any of his colleagues in the operation center. Max will display the warehouses associated with the operation centers in his area. Central Warehouse, Central 1, North Miami, Central 2, North Miami, and Central 3, South Miami warehouses, and mobile warehouses A, B, and C. The user Brandon will only display the Central Warehouse 4, North Orlando, and the mobile warehouse D. However, Max will not display the Central Warehouse 4 and the Mobile Warehouse D, as they are not located in his visibility cone. The mobile user can view all nearby warehouses using the map capability. This proves to be a useful capability as the mobile warehouse feature is integrated with a GIS cartography system. In this example provided, the technician wants to display the closest function map. The next-gen FSM platform mobile app shows all the nearby operative warehouses by understanding where it is more convenient to get supplies and the location of the warehouse for a quick pickup. The map displays various icons to characterize the different types of warehouses that meet the criteria set in the panel on the left. The system uses two house icons in green to represent the central and the preferred central warehouses, while the van icon in three different colors represent the mobile warehouses. The color of the van icon indicates the reliability of the mobile warehouse position. In other words, a green icon means that the last acquisition of the mobile warehouse position is recent, and therefore the position represented on map is highly reliable. Otherwise, if the van is orange or red, the last acquisition of the mobile warehouse position is not recent, so the position of the van may be changed in the meantime. Further information such as the central warehouse address, the van's owner, and the last synchronization can also be displayed by tapping on the SQL warehouse. Let's now see a quick demo to clearly understand all the capabilities presented so far. Let's configure a central warehouse step by step. Tom, user and warehouse manager, needs to create a new central warehouse. He clicks the dedicated button and enters the warehouse code and description. From this window, we can notice that the warehouse type is pre-filled in, as Tom is inserting a new central warehouse into the registry. In the first phase, the warehouse status is set as inoperative by default. From the three dots menu, Tom clicks the Associate Operation Center option to associate an operation center. Multiple operation centers can be associated with a warehouse, for instance, if a customer has a single warehouse for all operation centers. When activating the warehouse, the system returns an alert regarding an unassociated address. By navigating the warehouse's detail page, all summary information is displayed, along with the option to associate an address. The pop-up window displayed retrieves all addresses associated with the operation center linked to the warehouse, provided that the warehouse is located in one of the operation centers. If not, the plus button allows the user to enter a new address. The user selects an address and confirms the choice, Within the address section, two buttons are available: a wrench icon, which allows to modify the address, for instance, in case of relocation, and another icon which shows the warehouse location on map. Upon closing this page and returning to the three dots menu, it is now possible to activate the warehouse. As we can see, the warehouse status has evolved from inoperative to operative. Let's move on to create a mobile warehouse. Tom clicks the New Mobile Warehouse button, enters the necessary information and saves to create a mobile warehouse. From the three dots menu, we can activate the warehouse. The system notifies that a scheduling resource must be associated first, guiding the user through the warehouse creation process. Tom clicks Associate Scheduling Resource, filters by Operation Center, initiate search, select the resource, and confirms the choice. The resource is now associated. Additionally, it is possible to dissociate the scheduling resource. A mobile warehouse must be associated with one or more warehouses, and one shall be the preferred warehouse. This is done by clicking Associate Preferred Warehouse. Moving on to the detail page displaying the summary information, we find the tracking mode field. This functionality allows to display or hide the position of the mobile user. By default, it is set to None, which is the most privacy restrictive option. The other option acquires the technician location, which is updated when synchronizing the device. This setting enables real-time tracking of the technician's position in the field. Tom chooses this latter option and saves it. To complete the configuration of the mobile warehouse, we only need to activate the mobile warehouse. The warehouses created can be searched by initiating a search from the side panel by filtering the result by Operation Center, warehouse type, or status. These two filters allow multiple selections. It is also possible to filter by preferred warehouse or tracking mode. The Mobile Warehouse Management feature allows to manage consumable and serialized materials. The former refers to materials which cannot be identified and are expressed by quantities, for example, number of nails, meters of tape, while serialized materials can be identified by a unique serial identification code, for example, water meters. Therefore, by moving a serialized material, the user should state the objects that have been increased or withdrawn or consumed. This distinction results in a different management procedure between the two types of material, as we will see in detail during the demo. When a user defines a new material, they also have the option to add a detail managed in stock to load, store, and manage this type of material in the warehouse. After characterizing the material as managed in the warehouse, it might be necessary to indicate the materials that can or cannot be managed in a specific warehouse. The Next-Gen FSM platform allows to configure the allowed materials in each warehouse. Upon loading a material into a warehouse, the system verifies whether the material can be managed in a given warehouse or not. If the material is not included in the allowed materials for that warehouse, it cannot be loaded. For customers deeming not fundamental to state which material are allowed within the warehouse, a parameter automatically recognizes the material during the first loading operation, thus avoiding the need for manual configuration. This is achieved by setting a parameter within the company. Further detail will be discussed later, when exploring the section dedicated to parameters. The Mobile Warehouse Management feature allows to define the recommended maximum and minimum stock level for each type of material and in each warehouse and stock type. Different materials can have different recommended levels, only minimum levels, only maximum levels, or have none. For example, let's consider the material meters in a certain stock. For this material, it is possible to define a recommended level by setting a minimum and a maximum threshold for the quantity that should be available in the specific stock. This feature gives the user visibility of this threshold, both in the stock monitor and mobile stock. Materials can be moved within a central warehouse in different ways. Manual operations, allowing to load or unload materials and increase or decrease their quantity. Batch operation, allowing to define the materials to be managed in the warehouse through a bulk import procedure using a XSLX file. API integrations, being useful for external system or system extensions. The definition of the allowed materials determines the operations behavior in the central warehouse. Materials in central and mobile warehouses can be organized into three different logical sub-warehouses types called stock types. The next-gen FSM platform manages the following stock types. Ready to use, for materials immediately available for use in the field activities. Suspended, for materials which usually are not immediately available. They require to be verified, repaired, or have been reserved for a specific need. Unusable, for defective or broken materials which are no longer available. Furthermore, it is possible to perform a stock change operation to move materials from one stock type to another within the same warehouse as needed to execute field service activities. For example, while executing inventory operations, a user realizes that some parts are damaged and therefore unusable. The user carries out a change stock to transfer them from the ready-to-use to the unusable stock. The stock monitor capability allows to control the warehouse stocks, indicating the quantity of items available in one or more warehouses at a certain time. It provides for consultation and organization of current into different stock types, visibility of each serial code stored, access to the complete history of all warehouse operation, stock change to modify the stock of material as previously mentioned. The stock monitor capability dedicated to mobile user is called VanStock. As for the stock monitor capability, it allows to have the complete control of the warehouse stocks, indicating the quantity of items available in a selected warehouse at a certain time. The capability forecasts the expected material function, automatically counting the material needed for the activities assigned to a field technician on a given day. In the VanStock monitor capability, the quantity of a certain material available in stock can be highlighted in three different colors: black, red, or blue, in order to draw the user's attention and indicate particular situations. Black, normal situation. The stock level lies between the recommended minimum and maximum levels, or the levels were not specified. Red, attention situation. The material in stock lies below the recommended minimum level. The user should consider replenishing the material. Blue, attention situation. The material in stock lies above the recommended maximum level. The user should consider returning the excess material. In the VanStock monitor capability, the expected quantity of a certain material in stock can be highlighted in two different colors: black or red. Black, normal situation. The available quantity is equal to or greater than the expected quantity of the material required to execute the work order operations. Red, attention situation. The available quantity lies below the expected quantity of the material required to execute the work order operations. Let's now see a quick demo to clearly understand all the capabilities presented so far. Let's imagine that Tom, user and warehouse manager, needs to define a consumable and serialized material. He goes to the dedicated section and defines the consumable material by also entering the unit of measurement. By selecting the internal mat in material type option, the system automatically records it as managed in stock. In the same way, a serialized material can be defined. Tom defines the allowed materials within the mobile warehouse entered, performs a search, and selects the material he wants to register. He also sets a minimum and maximum quantity for the newly registered material. Considering that the corporate requirements state that the minimum level should be 2 and the maximum level 5. The ideal situation consists in the number of counters lying between 2 and 5. However, if only one counter is available, the warehouse faces an understock situation, while if they have 6 counters, they will be in an overstock situation. Based on these settings, highlights are activated, allowing the user to have an overview of the system configured. Now Tom wants to load a series of material into the previously defined central warehouse. Since this is the first load, he prefers to do a massive upload using a file. He checks the appropriate capability and verifies that there were no errors and all materials were loaded. Additionally, he can download the result file and verifies that there are no errors. Tom wants to perform another load operation for the central warehouse Miami 3. The system has set the parameter for self-registration, so the load operation will automatically register the material he is about to enter. He enters a previously defined consumable material and verifies that it is now in the list of the allowed materials, even though it was not defined as allowed. Furthermore, Tom wants to perform an increase operation as additional safety valves, which were already registered before, arrived in the warehouse. At this point, Tom checks the history and goes to the stock monitor for safety valves. He verifies that both file loading operations and the increase operation he had just executed are present. The stock monitor also allows to perform the stock change operation to transfer a meter by entering its quantity from the ready to use to the suspended stock in case it was booked for a specific work order. In the top right corner of the stock monitor page, the export capability is available. John, field technician, enters the van stock capability, displaying all materials present in his van, showing their respective quantities in a dedicated column. It is also provide a set of filters that allows field users to check the inventory based on their needs. John can review the expected materials, namely the materials required to perform the activities assigned, up to a set date. He can also display the materials and the expected quantity required by the work orders. Furthermore, it is possible to filter by code, description, and barcode. This latter allowing the user to read the most common and two-dimensional barcodes, such as QR codes. By using the NFC feature, the user can read near-field communication tags. These search methods can also be used in all other warehouses' capabilities to facilitate the search for material or serial codes. John notices that a valve is defective, so he decides to transfer it to the unusable stocks. The transfer request capability provided by the next-gen FSM platform offers multiple benefits as regards material management. In particular, the platform allows for the tracking of materials within warehouses and management of their movement. By relying on 4 types of transfer requests, the platform can meet different needs in terms of material supply. Replenishment transfer request, allowing to retrieve material from a central warehouse in order to replenish the mobile warehouses associated with the field technician, thus ensuring the number of necessary materials are restored. Return transfer request, allowing to manage the return of unnecessary material due to damage, verification, or customer returns for the technician warehouses to the central warehouse in order to optimize material management and reduce waste. Central transfer, allowing to transfer materials between 2 central warehouses in order to facilitate the reorganization of stocks between different warehouses, operation center, and business units. In the field transfer request, allowing to supply materials directly in the field between 2 mobile warehouses in order to simplify and accelerate material management during on-site activities. Furthermore, the next-gen FSM platform ensures tracking of materials throughout the user cycle, as well as the timely update of material availability across different warehouses. The life cycle of a transfer request can be described by the diagram shown on the slide. It represents the various steps a transfer request can be subject to in terms of action indicated next to the arrow and states shown in the circle. For example, for a transfer request in draft status, only the submit and cancel operation are possible, while the send status only allows to proceed with the receive operation. Instead, for the received or cancelled status, no other operations are provided as the transfer request is in its final status. The slide shows the details of the workflow in case of a replenishment transfer request. Let's remember that a replenishment transfer request involves the field technician and a warehouse clerk. The technician accesses the van stock and realizes that they need some materials to carry out the activity assigned. They decide to create a replenishment request where they can also add further materials if necessary. The replenishment request can be always edited up to its submission. Once the request is completed, the mobile user submits it, making it visible to the warehouse clerk. The replenishment request assumes the submitted status and can now be edited only by the warehouse clerk, who receives the request and prepares the material to be sent by evaluating their availability in the warehouse. Once the materials are prepared, they are sent to the field user. A push notification is sent to the field technician, notifying that the materials have been prepared and are available for pickup. Now, the warehouse user cannot take any other action, while the field technician can review the transfer request, verify the presence of all materials requested, and upon collecting them, confirm receipt. As seen previously, there are different types of transfer requests, each with slight differences according to the use case. They are detailed in the documentation available on the OverIT community portal. When the status of a transfer request involving a mobile warehouse changes, the NextGen FSM Platform mobile app sends a push notification to the technician's device to notify them of the change and giving them the opportunity to take further action to advance the request workflow. Push notifications are sent for the following types of transfer requests involving field technician: replenishment, return, and in-field transfer requests. Based on the operations performed by the user, internal mechanisms generate warehouse operations and goods movement transaction in the warehouse. The diagram shows the status an operation can be entirely or partially subject to. Let's consider a user performing a manual increase operation. The user decides to increment a consumable material in a central warehouse. The following are the steps the operation is subject to. Once created, the operation acquires the inserted status, and upon receiving the quantity, the operation evolves to the closed status. Let's now consider a replenishment transfer request. Technician John decides to request more materials to perform the activities assigned for the coming week. In this case, the operation acquires the inserted status when it is created. When the warehouse user sends the materials, the operation evolves to the sending status. Once all the materials are sent, the status becomes sent. When John clicks the Receive button for the transfer request, the operation enters the receiving status until all material are received by John, and finally it switches to the closed status. The operation monitor proves to be useful in case of a problem with an operation, as it allows to analyze the steps already executed and detect the moment the problem occurs. Let's now see a quick demo to clearly understand all the capabilities presented so far. In addition to the use cases related to replenishment transfer and in-the-field transfer request already presented in the mobile warehouse management demo, available at the OverIT community portal, we add 2 more use cases to explore additional types of transfer requests. Tom, warehouse clerk at Central Warehouse Miami 3, receives a replenishment request from John. He verifies that one of the materials is not available in the warehouse, but notices that it is present in Central Warehouse Miami 1, where his colleague Laura works. In the current situation, only the personnel from the destination central warehouse can create a new central transfer request to initiate the process of requesting the necessary goods. In order to create it, Tom accesses the dedicated monitor, providing the button he is looking for in the operation section. Tom accesses the transfer request monitor capability, which has a lateral panel to filter the results by the main attributes of a transfer request, such as user or date of action performance on a transfer request, request items, or serialized materials. The search performed can be exported by clicking the dedicated button at the top of the right of the monitor. Tom decides to create a central transfer request to receive the goods he needs from the warehouse having them. This type of request involves 2 central warehouses. Tom adds the necessary material to the central warehouse Miami 1, where John can pick it up the next day. He saves the request. He enters the details of the transfer request and notices that the information in the additional data section is being updated accordingly. Furthermore, on the detail page, all the header information to be entered is available, and the additional data fields populated consistently with the action performed as the transfer request changes status. Now Tom also has the possibility to modify the draft transfer request he created. Finally, he submits it, and now it cannot be edited anymore. Laura receives Tom's request and sends him the material he needs. Tom receives the material, which is now present in his stock. Now that he has a sufficient quantity of material, he can prepare all the necessary items for John to perform his activities. John, the field technician, has executed a series of field activities when he notices that his van contains some defective and unusable materials. To have space for the materials necessary for the upcoming activities, he decides to create a return request. This request involves the mobile warehouse and the central warehouse. The unusable and suspended materials will be sent to. John selects the materials to be sent and completes the transfer request with all the necessary information. He can choose the central warehouses the material will be sent to accordingly to his own cone of visibility. This option is also present for replenishment transfer request in draft status. In the pop-up window displayed, John can add notes to Tom, enter further materials, or filter to see if he actually included a defective connector that he wants to return. John sends the request to Tom and clicks the Navigate to button to reach the central warehouse. He is going to Tom. Tom, in turn, receives the request, checks if the materials required by John are present, and clicks the Receive button. The transfer request is now in its final state. John has successfully returned the materials to the central warehouse. Finally, John wants to check the status of his transfer request and accesses the dedicated monitor, allowing him to search for them by applying appropriate filters. Now we move on to the last phase and describe how the mobile warehouse management feature meets the technician's needs. The next-gen FSM platform provides the material accounting capability to report the activities performed in the field. It provides a simple method for accounting materials, whether managed in a warehouse or not, withdrawing materials by choosing the most appropriate substock. Let's now see a quick demo to clearly understand all the capabilities presented so far. John is performing an activity requiring to use a meter and replace another one, a few meters of a multi-layer pipe, and some gasket. Now John proceeds to account the meter he withdraws from the field. This card does not contain any information. John can enter the meter value by indicating the serial number. Upon completing the activity, it is necessary to record the amount used. He accesses the detail of the work order and goes to the dedicated card providing two tabs, one for the consumable material and one for the serialized ones. John enters the consumable materials that have been used. The tab shows the expected materials for the work order and their quantities. The system displays the quantity currently available in the mobile warehouse for that material, the one expected for the work cycle, and for the specific work order. Even if John mistakenly typed the wrong quantity used, the system notifies him and corrects the information just entered. Depending on the configuration, the system can notify John, block the procedure, or allow him to proceed. In this case, John receives a notification. John enters the correct quantity consumed from the ready-to-use stock and saves the operation. Let's suppose that John used a material that was not planned for a given work order. In this case, he can add it by clicking the dedicated button. It then moves on to the tab for serialized materials, displaying the same information. However, to record the serialized material, the user must first indicate the meter and then specify the serial number used. By performing a search, the system displays the serial numbers available in the van for that material. John has now recorded all the materials used for the activity performed. It is important to note that during the accounting process, the information is synchronized with the server. In case the mobile device cannot synchronize, it saves the information entered and updates the mobile stock in real time, as to ensure that the field technician does not lose any useful material information available on his mobile warehouse. Let's go back to the presentation and display some information on the feature configuration. The mobile warehouse management is available in the company.fsm.inventory software layer. The mobile warehouse management capabilities are activated by assigning the value true to the new company.fsm.module.inventory parameter in the company.properties file. If the parameter is not specified, the feature is not active by default. This slide shows the parameters that can be set in the system for the mobile warehouse management feature. The stock quantity check type parameter offers three options. No check. No checks are performed, allowing the display of negative quantities. Alert. An alert message is displayed if the stock quantity is negative. Block. The process is blocked if the stock quantity is negative. The warehouse material parameter offers two options. Manual declaration. The warehouse material are entered manually. Automatic self-census. The warehouse materials are entered automatically when allowed in a warehouse movement. The push notification title parameter can be set for the user to enter a dedicated string. The new entities introduced with the mobile warehouse management feature are interconnected through the REST services. The image shows only some of the services available. This slide provides a recap detailing the players involved in the mobile warehouse management feature and the phases available to each of them, i.e. configuration, planning, and accounting, specifying the entities they can act on. Thank you for your attention, and I hope to see you all soon.